Hello and welcome to Pearl Magazine. It's been a year since the start of what is arguably the worst pandemic in history. Have we made any progress against this COVID-19 virus that's turned the world upside down? As we look back, Pearl Magazine revisits those who suffered the biggest impact at the beginning of 2020 to see where they are now and how they're coping with the crisis.
415請入一9號。
我廖醫生啊，我啱啱由急症室收咗個 Tier 1病人啊。
廖醫生，
係。
我哋呢度而家未有床啊。
Since the coronavirus outbreak last year, Dr. Liu has worked on the front line, fighting the virus.
Fighting the virus is very much like boxing, and you're facing Mike Tyson. When you look at him, you're scared because he's so powerful.
Liu makes his daily rounds to check the confirmed COVID patients in the isolation ward.
Every day when I come back, the first thing is to see the patients. I'm getting familiar with this place. Day in and day out, I come and leave. It's been a year.
He still remembers the first few days when he had just started treating COVID patients. Liu recalls the many concerns about the unknowns and uncertainties of the coronavirus.
The beginning was the hardest. You didn't know how contagious it could be. Would medicine be effective? Could we control it? You had no idea how many patients could die from it or how many healthcare workers we would lose. If we contracted it, we would become patients. But 1 year after, we have become experienced fighters. No matter how powerful the virus is, you have a chance to defeat it as long as you have enough protection.
Hello, Nicole 女女，爹哋喺隔離病房嗰度啊！你係咪放咗學啦？已經
係啱啱放學啦。
咁你食咗晏未啊？
Over the past 12 months, the doctor sacrificed a lot of his family time, but support from them has helped motivate him.
我哋都成日溝通啦，即係有時
We talk to each other often. We miss each other. She is very organized, so I don't really worry about her. She also knows what I'm doing, and she fully supports me. Every time there was a new wave, I had to come back here. Every day, I'm alone after work. I look at my shadow and walk to the hotel.
This hotel has become the doctor's second home in the past year. He moved in last February at the very beginning of the outbreak.
When every wave was over, I was very happy because I thought I could go back home. Then there was another wave, and I needed to come back again. For me, it's a responsibility. It's our mission.
Few cities understand the potential horror of a coronavirus outbreak like Hong Kong, which was the epicenter of the SARS global outbreak 17 years ago. In 2003, SARS killed around 300 people in Hong Kong. 8 healthcare workers in the city died. This time, many have learned from that painful lesson. It made them warier.
As a healthcare worker, we hope to win this fight. I feel that our sacrifice will be worth it. There will be a day when I go back home, a day when I leave this hotel.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
When the pandemic started hitting Europe and North America, universities had to shut down. Hong Kong students and residents began returning to the city in droves, some bringing the virus back with them. Nicole was one of them. The freshman studied in the UK.
I didn't use the toilet. I didn't eat anything. It's tough, but worthwhile. I really want to go home.
She had to begin a 14-day home quarantine the day she arrived. A day later, she tested positive.
The first 3 or 4 days at the hospital, I was upset. I worried people would find out that I had the virus. I didn't know where I got it. My family and friends all had to go into quarantine facilities, and I was isolated in the hospital. It was very uneasy.
Nicole recovered after staying in hospital for 21 days.
I was very lucky indeed.
Living with COVID in the year 2020, Nicole experienced quarantine and hospitalization. It made her more willing to take precautions.
Having the vaccines doesn't mean that we can finally relax. We know that the antibody can last as short as 3 months, so it could be a situation that keeps recurring. We can't rely on the vaccine and think everything will be fine. I can't say that every COVID survivor is thankful for this experience, but I am. It reminds me to cherish what we have and the people around us. I will never forget this for the rest of my life.
Last year, Pearl magazine met a man who was supposed to be passing through Hong Kong on a global journey. But Thor Peterson got stuck here due to the pandemic.
My name is Thor. I come from Denmark. I'm traveling to every single country there is in the world in an unbroken journey, and I'm doing it all without flying.
He came to Hong Kong in 2020 during Chinese New Year and planned to stay only 4 days. But when countries began to close their borders, there was no way he could leave. Pedersen was hoping it was just going to be a few months, maybe. However, the months have kept rolling on and on.
I think it's about 340 days.
Pedersen has managed to build deep friendships with the city and its people.
There's a Danish community here in Hong Kong of a few hundred people, and I've met many of them, and they've treated me really, really nice. I have local friends, Hong Konger friends. I have friends from mainland China that are living in Hong Kong, all sorts of expat friends here as well. I have a favorite cafe, I have my favorite foods, I have a favorite mountain in Hong Kong.
Last year, when Pearl magazine first met him, he was living in Sai Kung with a host family. Now he's moved to his 4th location.
That family heard that I was coming to Hong Kong, and they offered that I could stay at their place for a few days, and then I ended up staying with them for 5 months. So that's amazing hospitality. Then after that, the Danish community here, they set me up in an apartment in Pho Tan. And then there was an apartment in Tsuen Wan West, which was also empty. And I was asked if I could look out for that apartment. And that gave me a roof for another 3 or 4 months. And then since then, I relocated here to lovely Kwai Chung.
With no end in sight, someone offered him a job.
Again, due to the pandemic, it has not been possible for the Danish Siemens Church to send an assistant from Denmark to Hong Kong, and I'm already here. And I have a lot of experience with shipping and the seafarers. I've been on board 25 container ships, so I know the daily routines. I've been asked if I wanted to take upon me the assistant's job for a period of maybe 6 months. That's a win-win situation because they get an assistant, and I have an apartment, and I have something to do while I'm here.
Over the years, Pedersen's story has encouraged many, but recently finding a reason to hang in there has become harder.
I know that people feel inspired and motivated by my actions, that I have not given up throughout all of this time. and it can be a heavy weight to bear on my shoulders sometimes. I do think about going home, so much that it gets inside my head and I'm dreaming about it at night even.
If it wasn't because of this pandemic, Pedersen could have already finished the challenge last October and reunited with his family.
I haven't been able to see my fiancée, and we have this long-distance relationship which has been going for more than 7 years now, and that's difficult for us. I was hoping that eventually the borders would open so that tourists could come to Hong Kong, because then I could see my fiancée again. The last time I saw her was 15 months ago now. The last time I shaved was the last time I saw my fiancée.
Rather than keep thinking about excuses to give up, Pedersen tried to do as many things as possible to keep himself busy.
When they closed the sports grounds and I could no longer go running inside the 400-meter track, I decided, well, I'll spend more time in the mountains again. And when they closed my cafe at 6 o'clock, then I find something else to do in the evening. And it's the way. A lot of us are very, very tired. We have been dealing with this for a year, or maybe even more for some people. I think everyone is doing as well as they can. I think this is a time where we need to try to be optimistic, even though it's hard. We know that things are going to get better. 6 months ago, we didn't know if they could make a vaccine. Now we have a multitude of different vaccines. I think the vaccines are going to be a big step towards stopping this pandemic. I already have more than 30 vaccines from going around the world, so I would happily welcome one more vaccine.
We all work together. Each person gives a little effort. The rewards could be huge.
I hope we won't need these masks soon. Dreamers can continue chasing their dreams.
Hope this pandemic is over soon. We should not relax yet. We should keep working hard.
After getting the vaccine, we must be able to turn around the bad time, and these will all be history.
This restaurant inside the Si Wan Shan shopping center opened in January 2020, the very same day when Hong Kong reported its first COVID positive case.
On January 23rd, the situation wasn't that bad. But who would have thought that soon after that we had the first and second waves, and the third wave would hit right where I live.
So 香港嘅疫情咧喺7月初係變得嚴峻。
慈雲山當然係個案比較多啦，真係有啲失控嘅情況。
In the third wave, Si Wan Shan became a COVID-19 hotspot. The usually bustling streets of the working-class neighborhood resembled a ghost town. Many restaurants were closed. For safety reasons, Chan's restaurant only kept its takeaway service open.
I dare not let people dine in. Too many people removing their masks. I had to take their temperatures and keep their social distance. I just couldn't handle too much. As you can see, 70 to 80% of the restaurants have shut down.
Since the initial outbreak, Hong Kong has dealt with multiple waves of infections. Maximum diners allowed per table went from 4 to 8 and then to 12. By the third wave, it was limited to 2 again, and no dine-in after 6 p.m. There was even a time of no dining in at all at the end of July. Many had to eat on the streets and in public parks.
It's another outbreak in a public housing estate, then elderly homes and eateries. The pattern just keeps repeating itself. You're lucky it doesn't strike you this time. You may not be so lucky in the fifth wave.
Chan used to be in the trading industry. 2 years ago, he opened this restaurant in Hong Kong with his friends. Over the years, jewelry shops around this area would be packed with mainland visitors. But the pandemic has brought changes never seen before.
During rush hour, there would be massive traffic congestion, and we would see goods being loaded and unloaded, people everywhere.
A popular eatery among office workers, Chan's restaurant is suffering a catastrophic business downturn because employees are asked to work from home. Catering is not the only industry that has suffered. Chan's neighbor, a laundry shop who also started his business 2 years ago, is facing a lot of pressure.
My family said that I should give up, but I've spent 2 years running it. It would be a pity.
Just can't reconcile. That's why we must persevere and try our best to survive.
These shops are so empty with only a couple of patrons. You can do some jogging here.
Kwan is a Choi Wan Estate resident. In recent months, he noticed that fewer and fewer people visit this shopping mall near his home.
This place is the origin of the dancing cluster, quite well known now.
Last November, many confirmed COVID cases were found to be linked to restaurants and dancing studios, and that triggered the fourth wave of the pandemic.
可能喺個跳舞群組嗰度咧，都係有一啲即係超級嘅即係傳播嘅情況啦，似乎係比第三波係更加即係劇烈啦。
With multiple community outbreaks, the government invoked powers to require Choi Wan Estate residents to undergo mandatory COVID testing. At least 20 residents from 6 buildings tested positive.
This is the second mandatory test. The first test was finished last month.
"69-year-old Kwan lives in Fung Chak House, where the authority found 5 confirmed COVID cases after the first test last month. But as samples from the sewers tested positive, the government required all residents to test again.
Many residents here are in their 80s or 90s. I'm relatively young. All the elderly can do is to spend every day worrying.
Old people are afraid of being infected by invisible virus carriers, so most spend all day at home. Environmental contamination is said to be the reason for the virus spreading.
I tried not to touch the surface of the button because that's high risk. Many residents say they smell an odor. If the virus travels with the sewage, if they're unlucky, those above and below would get infected.
Choi Wan Estate was completed in 1979. Kwan was among the first residents here. He said the pipes have never been replaced in all these years, and the government only applied sealant to the connecting joints after finding COVID virus there last month. Kwan decided to step up his domestic hygiene.
1 to 60, not 1 to 99. I feel it's more effective.
Like many people surviving the pandemic, Kwan has stocked up on plenty of products at home.
呢啲咧就係酒精，呢啲口罩，呢啲全部都係口罩嚟。呢啲眼鏡，呢度4盒，呢啲下面咧嗰啲搓手液啊，10、11、12，呢邊係12盒，呢度應該唔係好多，呢度200個度，應該又係口罩。有成箱都係搓手液。
You never know if there is a 5th or 6th wave. This is all I can do as a lonely old man who must be extra cautious.
To learn of the latest COVID news, Kwon volunteers with district councillors and hands out leaflets with information to fight the pandemic, to help out those in his neighborhood.
I hope to run into people in the neighborhood and exchange ideas and encourage each other. Offer the elderly some care and a sense of security.
The Choi Wan estate is like an epicenter, so everyone is helping each other out. This way, people don't feel so helpless and lonely.
After more than a year, many Hong Kong people have adjusted to the new normal. But as the pandemic continues, everyone must work together to end the crisis.
We all suffered so much for the last year, overcoming one obstacle after another. I believe we can overcome this round.
Hope all people can be happy but remain vigilant and healthy.
Hope all Hong Kong people can persist and will see each other without our masks.
After this pandemic, I hope to go swimming. Go doctors and nurses.
That's our show for this week. Next week, Chinese New Year is fast approaching, and that means it's time to clean house so we can begin the Lunar New Year with a clean slate. But how challenging will it be to declutter after a year of being stuck at home? Thanks for watching. See you next time. Good night.